Hello again, this is Brian Terrell from B. Terrell Group, and welcome to today's webinar, which I've entitled, What Makes Workforce Go the Right Choice for HRMS Integrated with Intacct. At Intacct Advantage 2014, our firm debuted Workforce Go, a cloud-to-cloud integration between Intacct and AMERIFLEX Workforce Management Solution. AMERIFLEX Workforce is a cloud-based HRMS technology platform providing the technology required to manage human resources from recruiting all the way to COBRA. The purpose of this webinar is to show you exactly why we think Workforce Go is the right choice for HRMS integrated with Intacct. So let's take a look at our agenda. Specifically, today's agenda is simple and straightforward. First, let's quickly review the reason we developed a full integration of a cloud-based HRMS with Intacct. Next, we'll take a 30,000-foot view of the solution and all the pieces of the puzzle. This should help you if you're hearing about AMERIFLEX Workforce and the integration for the first time. And then finally, let's detail the next steps so that you can find out if AMERIFLEX Workforce is the right fit for your Intacct company or for your Intacct customers. We believe Workforce Go is the right HRMS solution for Intacct. Before Workforce Go and AMERIFLEX Workforce, there were no true cloud-to-cloud integrations between HRMS technologies and Intacct. Most payroll process and HR technology providers allow for a simple CSV download of transactions to be imported into Intacct. This allows for errors or forgetting to get it done. It's not automatic. In addition, most of these same HR technology providers do not fully support one of the most valuable features of Intacct Dimensions. So how is Workforce Go different? First of all, Workforce Go is a cloud-to-cloud integration between AMERIFLEX Workforce and Intacct, utilizing Intacct through platform services. Because Workforce Go is an Intacct marketplace app, subscribing to Workforce Go gives customers the platform services in the background without additional cost. And it's the platform services which enable a true cloud-to-cloud integration. Gone are the CSV exports and imports that all the other competition requires. In addition, AMERIFLEX Workforce supports all Intacct dimensions. And I'm talking not only about the 8 out-of-the-box dimensions that every subscriber to Intacct can use, but also those user-defined dimensions that are specific to an Intacct customer. Workforce Go supports those as well. And then finally, Workforce Go and AMERIFLEX Workforce are different because of the flexibility in processing that's offered by AMERIFLEX. AMERIFLEX Workforce allows outsourced processing, which is the traditional model that we all think of when we think of typical payroll processors. But AMERIFLEX Workforce also supports in-house processing, which means as a company, if I preferred to manage my own tax liabilities or prepare my own 941 or upload my own direct deposit ACH file to the bank, I can do that with AMERIFLEX Workforce. B. Terrell Group began working with Intacct in 2011 when we associated with Keith Carnes, but we really rolled into high gear in January of 2013. A couple of months later, 4 or 5 to be exact, we were involved in a demonstration of the product to a group of CPAs over lunch. And at the end of that demonstration, one of those CPAs raised her hand and said, "That looks great, but next time can we see payroll?" And so it was at that exact moment that the idea for Workforce Go was born. We began a search then with 3 specific requirements in mind. And so these are also just the things that make Workforce Go with AMERIFLEX Workforce special. First thing is the cloud-to-cloud integration that's available either because of Intacct's platform services or the fact that AMERIFLEX Workforce is itself a cloud-based application. So that was a requirement. Another requirement was that anything that we picked out to work with must have that full support for not only the 8 out-of-the-box Intacct dimensions, but also the user-defined dimensions that are available upon request. And then third of all, we needed that flexibility in processing to allow not only the typical outsourced payroll model, but also in-house processing as well. So with Workforce Go, we found all of this and more. And so there are really 3 pieces to the Workforce Go solution. And the first is a company called AMERIFLEX Business Solutions. I'll share a bit more about AMERIFLEX here in a moment, but they are our technology partner. And the technology that they use that is the backbone of this partnership is an application called AMERIFLEX Workforce Management Solution, or AMERIFLEX Workforce for short. So we'll talk a bit about that here in a moment. And then, of course, the third piece to the puzzle is the application that B. Terrell has developed in the Intacct platform services, which bridges the gap between AMERIFLEX Workforce and Intacct. And we call that application Workforce Go. And I guess I should mention there is a fourth additional sort of advantage to the Workforce Go solution and piece to that puzzle, which is the Intacct business partner channel. That would mean either the VAR partners that a lot of Intacct customers work with, or the accounting partners that a lot of smaller businesses work with Intacct through, and it also means the direct sales channel of Intacct themselves, which is an important way of being introduced to the Intacct solution. All customers subscribe to and receive Intacct services through one of these 3 channels. And so B. Terrell Group and AMERIFLEX have agreed that we're committed to selling through one of these 3 distribution channels: the VARs, the IAPs, or the Intacct accounting partners, or the direct channel. That means if you're an Intacct customer, we want your VAR or your accounting partner or your direct channel representative to be completely involved in the implementation, introduction, and use of Workforce. And if you're an Intacct VAR or accounting partner, then we want to help add to your business by working through you with your valuable customers. You can tell me, but I think this differentiates us from those other payroll processing options that are out there. We are very business partner or direct channel partner focused in our distribution model. So let's learn a little bit more about AMERIFLEX. AMERIFLEX is an important supplier of human resources services nationwide. Originally, they made their mark as an independent administrator of health spending accounts and COBRA processing services and HR compliance services, to the tune of 3.5 million individual lives being supported nationwide. Their clients requested additional services, and the most often requested service was payroll processing and HR technology. And so they became a business partner to Kronos. Kronos is a nationwide human resources technology partner that has an original background in time and labor management systems, but have also developed the workforce application, which they call Kronos Workforce, HRMS, and AMERIFLEX, as a licensed business partner to Kronos, calls it, as we mentioned earlier, AMERIFLEX Workforce Management Solution. And you can see here that AMERIFLEX Workforce Management Solution has been a part and an offering of AMERIFLEX for 3 years. It offers a single employee record in all of its modules. So the recruiting record that's created when someone makes application to join an AMERIFLEX customer's workforce, that recruiting record stays with that employee all the way through their time with the company. It will be also the same record used by the HR portion of the program, and that same HR record and recruiting record will then be the record used by the time and labor tracking system or the payroll processing systems and applications. And then finally, in the post termination tracking systems, primarily the COBRA administration portion of the program. And so a change in any of these areas immediately applies to all the other areas because it's the same record, and that's very unusual. Given what I know about the market, having been working with HRMS systems for 25 years nearly, we know that oftentimes an excellent payroll application will be acquired by an HRMS software publisher, and then they'll work hard to make those applications, 2 different applications developed at different times on different technologies. They'll work really hard to make them look as if they're one, and there's just complications involved with that. And so one of the big reasons that Workforce, AMERIFLEX Workforce, is so appealing is that single employee record database. In addition, the payroll processing capabilities of the program, that means not only processing but compliance, tax compliance, reporting compliance, payments, that is distributing the payments to the employee as well as to some of the benefit providers. All of those capabilities are nationwide and available to customers in all 50 states. The time and labor portion of AMERIFLEX Workforce, because of the association with Kronos, is extremely deep and offers multiple hard and soft capture mechanisms, as well as a project accounting and job costing. The HR application provides full employee and manager self-service, allowing an employee to check their pay statement, manage their benefits, request time off, access the company handbook, and adjust their direct deposit accounts, either through their PC at their desk or through their mobile device. An employer can store training records and certifications and assets that have been assigned to employees, as well as perform reviews and have the workflow associated with that, or other business processes, HR business processes. All these can be managed through the HR application, as well as the complete management of the FMLA provision of the Department of Labor regulations, and then of course the pending ACA compliance requirements that are all effective as of January 2015. AMERIFLEX Workforce can be branded to look as if the company themselves bought and installed the application locally. Even though it's a cloud-based application, no one has to know that it's not entirely devoted to and reserved for that particular company because of company branding that's available. And it provides excellent reporting that clients will generate and schedule and deliver automatically to constituents and users of those reports. What are the limitations, really, of AMERIFLEX Workforce? I mean, I am often, continually impressed as I see a demonstration of AMERIFLEX Workforce, and I've seen a lot lately. I'll learn every time a new feature and functionality provided by the program, and really the only limitation I can tell you about right now is that it cannot be an on-premise application. It runs in the cloud. And I know that the world is not all that clean and neat, so probably there are some specific limitations. I just haven't been on a demonstration that's revealed any. And so I would recommend, if you're interested or you have a client interested in learning more about whether or not AMERIFLEX Workforce is a right fit for a specific company, is to schedule a discovery call. And a discovery call doesn't cost, and I'll give you some instructions for preparing or arranging that here shortly. As I mentioned, in the beginning when the CPA raised her hand and said, "That's great, but next time can we see payroll?" When that idea for Workforce Go was created, at that moment, I knew that there were some certain requirements that that I was looking for, and I mentioned those. Number one, it needed to be a cloud application, and needed to offer that flexibility and payroll processing options, either in-house or outsourced payroll. And then, of course, it had to support the Intacct dimensions. And luckily, AMERIFLEX Business Solutions as a partner and their technology, AMERIFLEX Workforce, meet those. But what about Workforce Go? That's the sort of third piece of the puzzle. The integration itself. How does it take advantage, of these advantages, of these requirements that we had? And the first way is obvious. I mean, it provides a true cloud-to-cloud integration between AMERIFLEX Workforce and Intacct. There is no exporting a CSV file, opening that up in Excel, maybe changing the name of a column, or cutting and pasting that information into a template, or none of that. And none of the errors that come with that. None of the, "Oh, I haven't still gotten around to doing that." It is a cloud-to-cloud instant integration that doesn't require any change in any external file or manipulation of anything. So that is a big differentiator of Workforce Go and AMERIFLEX Workforce as HRMS choices for Intacct. But number two, we developed this integration completely using the Intacct platform services. And as I mentioned earlier, because it's a marketplace, an Intacct marketplace app, it does not require a separate subscription to the platform services. No additional cost, to have that functionality. And platform services enforces business logic and error checking and security on the Workforce Go transaction flow and business process that weren't an additional expense of the development team, or effort, didn't require additional effort of the development team. So it's just a great benefit to develop an application on platform services. In addition, as I've mentioned, Workforce Go and AMERIFLEX Workforce fully dimension all the transactions that transfer or originate from AMERIFLEX Workforce for Intacct. Not only the standard 8 dimensions, but also those user-defined dimensions. And then finally, AMERIFLEX Workforce, when combined with Workforce Go, fully supports seamless posting of payroll and HRMS transactions into Intacct. That just means that a dimension that is added into an Intacct table, for instance, a new location, appears automatically and instantly within AMERIFLEX Workforce to be used in subsequent transactions. And that also means that a paycheck that's written in AMERIFLEX Workforce appears instantly as a fully posted transaction in Intacct. It's all as simple as that, and it will get better. We've already begun design for additional functionality that we hope to release before the second quarter of 2015 to allow for the bisynchronous, that's the two-way transfer of project time and expenses. So we're looking forward to taking what's already a great and preferred solution to integrated HRMS with Intacct and making it even better. And so, as you may have heard about AMERIFLEX Workforce and Workforce Go over the last 20 minutes or so, and are wanting to take the next steps, what are those? The first one's simple. Because we're committed to the channel, you have 3 different folks that you can reach out to begin the process. And we would say that the first choice would probably be your Intacct business partner. That's a VAR or an IAP, or maybe even the direct sales team at Intacct that you originally worked with to become an Intacct customer. And if you're an Intacct VAR or business partner yourself, IAP yourself, then you can also get involved by learning more about Workforce Go and the business partner agreement and program that are available to you as a business partner to Intacct, and then reaching out to your clients and customers with information on Workforce and Workforce Go. Another way to learn more about how to get started with Workforce Go would be just to call us, and I'll give you some contact information here momentarily on how to get in touch with me and others at VTerrell Group. And then finally, if you happen to have a relationship already with AMERIFLEX, they'll be able to help you get started on learning whether or not Workforce Go is a piece to the puzzle that you would want to add. After you reach out to one of these 3 different groups, we'll work to schedule a discovery call with you. A discovery call is hosted by AMERIFLEX Business Solutions, and they'll know the questions to ask to help to make a determination quickly as to whether or not the AMERIFLEX Workforce is a solution that can meet a company's needs. And from that information, AMERIFLEX will then begin to tailor a demonstration that will be personal to a customer, a prospective customer. And that would be the third sort of thing to do, third step to take to begin to evaluate whether or not Workforce Go and AMERIFLEX Workforce are a right fit for your company. Once again, thank you very much.